So at this point, after now 4 episodes of Failure Frame, we know the MC is the type of person who will take a life if it means to defend himself, or he needs to do so. But I do appreciate how with episode 4, which I would honestly admit is the weakest out of the 4 episodes. I'll be completely honest here. Not every episode is perfect, and this was probably the weakest episode for me, but it did serve its purpose. And while there's definitely things to nitpick and point out, whether it is the random 3D walking, or maybe some of the more slower paced moments that, you could probably speed up to get to other slower paced moments that would just be a little more interesting, the overall episode still went by fairly quickly for me. And the biggest thing for me is that we end up with this situation with like this incel. There's no other way to put it. This is like some neckbeard Reddit mod who just, his entire reasoning for being mad, now granted, he was right. He was actually right, mind you. But he's like, hey, you're this elven princess person, I'm gonna expose you, takes off the hood, and she has normal ears. By the end of the episode, we do get the confirmation once our boy puts her to sleep, not in a negative way, mind you, but literally just says, catch some Z's, you need it. Her spell wears off and we can see her ears are actually pointy. Now, whether or not this man knew 100% for sure it was her, and he's frustrated because she made him look stupid because he knows she is actually this person, or he's just an idiot who just is upset that he might have been wrong, his entire reasoning for wanting to kill her was, you made me look foolish. And he pretty much says, like, all you women are the same. He's just an incel, man. So then he tries to hire these 2 goons to go kill her, and honestly, they were giving me some pretty bad vibes. I was like, oh man, they're gonna put her through a redo of healer situation. Like, all 3 of them were not good people. And I don't think there's many anime fans if our boy at a distance just poisoned them right then and there. I don't think many people would say, damn, what a psychopath. Maybe if he was laughing and saying like, oh, I enjoy the feelings of their screams. Yeah, maybe in that case. But instead, our boy goes down there, and basically, it's almost like he needs that push. He just needs a little bit, because as much as they are bad people, to just do it from a distance would probably make him feel scummy. So the idea is like, as soon as there's a little bit of a threat, just give him a reason to actually put you out of your misery, and he does so. And the fact that it's not even his poison that does him in, it's the creatures that are about to feast on them. He is edgy, and I've said that this is edgy from basically the very first episode. But it's a difference of edge because the dude just seems like he needs an insane asylum, padded room straitjacket, versus someone who definitely lived a pretty shitty life, but seemingly, if people are good in this world, he doesn't go out of his... Like, it doesn't feel like he's trying to be Batman. It doesn't feel like he's trying to take justice in his own hands. It's almost like a case-by-case basis. You jump him in the woods, you're probably gonna die. You're clearly going after an innocent girl who just is simply existing, you're probably gonna die. And while you can make the argument, should he be judge, jury, and executioner? So far, with what I've seen, he's probably the best judge, jury, and executioner that we've witnessed in this world, because this world doesn't give me great vibes, especially based on the goddess who summoned us. Now, I do have full live reactions over on Patreon. If you want to see my full link of thought to any of these Failure Frame episodes, it's going to be over there exclusively. So, fun episode, but the weakest out of the 4, if we're being honest. But let's get a few little good points out of the way before we talk about some of the negatives that I had in this episode. First things first, I love the background detail in this episode. Sometimes I don't even know how they did it. Sometimes I think they might have actually just had real locations and then like almost put an anime filter on it. Then at other points it feels like hand painted, just like a very unique style. The backdrops are really interesting because up to this point we haven't had a lot of variety of scenery, because we started in the building where we were summoned. We had caves and then we had a forest. Like, we really haven't had a lot of like, we don't really know what the world looks like, all things considered. So this was an episode going through a market, going through a town, and honestly I like the visual style to it. The overall feel of our MC and how he goes about just maneuvering this world is interesting to me, because he feels insanely level-headed despite being as edgy as he actually is. But the episode isn't without its flaws, and I think some of the flaws that we have are things that have carried from the first episode till now. Well, more so the second episode to now. Do we need the random 3D walking? No. But, to play devil's advocate, I'd rather have random 3D walking and actually see the characters move in pretty well done animation when they're actually fighting things. To be honest, I don't know why they do it, because it almost just feels like the way they storyboarded these, like, I assume 12 episodes is that any wide shot with the character walking, they just said, we'll just do it in 3D. We'll just have one dude just get it all out of the way, and then we'll just take our time to try to focus on other things. Because this show can simultaneously look like one of the better produced shows and worse produced shows, depending on the scenes. I don't think any of the monsters in 3D look bad or jarring. They actually work. They have an almost uncanny valley feel. But yeah, it's most noticeable when our characters are in 3D and they're just kind of casually standing there. And it's not even in one of those cases where it's like, usually with 3D stuff, it's like, oh, you kind of understand why they're doing this. Because it's like, oh, this is like a specific type of scene that would be very difficult. It's like, you can just show us generic ass faces with basic movements and most people would be like, yeah, that's anime for you, but they just randomly will switch it to 3D for some reason. I don't know why. It doesn't ruin it for me, but it definitely gets more and more noticeable the more episodes you have to reference. You're like, wait, they've really been doing that every single episode. Why are they doing that? I don't know. And it's weird because there's literally action in this episode that you would think they would have went more 3D with, and then it's completely hand-drawn. No idea why, but I guess it is what it is. But this still is a show I very much look forward to. And I think it is one of those cases where it's like, okay, our boy, beaten, mentally, physically abused in his childhood, eventually got saved, sure, and really didn't have that lucky of a life in terms of school life and stuff. Like, he also was treated like garbage. And the idea that rather than him just being characters like, okay, now I have excuses to just go kill everyone who ruined me. Like, he wants to kill that goddess. I mean, I don't blame him. I mean, the goddess really did, like, try to screw him over. And had she realized just how amazing his bag was, the little item bag that she gave him, I know she would have actually given that because otherwise he probably would have starved to death, right? But the idea that, like, as he comes across characters, like, I never get the impression when he thinks about things, or even when he thinks about killing, that he's like, you know, I really have to, it's just like, it just feels like the way the viewer's responding. No one's probably going to look at those three people down there and say, damn, we need to find a way to rehabilitate them. It's like, no, just, if you let them go, even if our little elven friend's okay, someone else is going to get killed and they'll get hired or they'll do horrible things. Like, yeah, they deserve. Do they deserve to get eaten by, I guess maybe that's up for debate, but the fact that he just paralyzes, freezes, just, it's fantastic. I love it. And he's actually relatively competent. So there's this moment where there's this little chalice thing, and I think most people are going to say, oh, that thing's going to come to life, that stone statue. And he looks at it and he goes, paralyze, poison. Because here's the thing. Does he really, is there a negative reason not to just paralyze the statue that could come to life? This is a fantasy world, damn it. Just have those precautions, and he acts in a relatively sane way. Now, it was a slower paced episode, but it does reinforce kind of what the idea of this show is. It shows us some cool little bells and whistles, and we have a little travel companion right now, and we still have Piggy Maru, the best damn pet companion that we could possibly ask for, so still, fun episode. Worst of the four for me, but very excited for more. Let me know your feelings down below. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell, and like I mentioned, full live reactions over on Patreon. And hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. Alright, so today we got Dude Guy Man, Enderwolf, Gomasin, Matter Paradoxa, Count Viscount, Ciaras, Ryuki, and Zuda. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care, and you all have a good one.